podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Ospreys Eyrie.
Hello and welcome back to the Ospreys Eyrie podcast, the podcast who doesn't have to talk about meaningless amateur games at the Principality Stadium because we actually had a proper game. That was cold of me. Sorry, we've had a lot of outpouring of support from other regions, but you just got to get it in there. Joining me as always, Robbie and Yestin. Boys, how are we? I do this every week. One of you, please speak.
Okay, I'm delighted. I'm slightly gutted. I'm the only person in Welsh rugby who hasn't been asked to give a statement in honour of Neath. But you know, we get on with it, don't we? We continue on.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm not going to be able to back that up, but I'm all good.
And joining us this week is Josh from the Blood and Mud Podcast. Josh, how are we?
Hello there. Yes, I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, I haven't been asked either, and I mean, I'm technically traditionally a Neath fan, so I've got more of a stake in this than Zinzan Brook has, and yet, you know.
Gareth Edwards was also one of my favourite players growing up. I also love Lloyd Williams' work.
Are you Neath's most successful podcaster?
I mean, Jesus Christ, that is a very small.
Because that's
I'm not from
criteria
Neath,
to be asked.
but that is in terms of Neath fans. I mean, I wouldn't call myself. Actually, I would call myself in the Toby Booth definition of fan and supporter. I would call myself a Neath fan. In that, I was a lot more interested in Neath in the sort of mid 2000s when we were winning everything. And I became less interested the more fucking hat stand we got. We don't swear on this podcast, sorry.
Yes, of course you are.
Good, thank God for that.
Every time I just go onto Twitter and I see Neath, my soul just sinks a bit more.
Oh, I love it.
It's really unedifying, though, isn't it?
It's total hat stand. It's great. It's what I want a kind of second tier team in Welsh rugby to be. You know, we've been missing a team as mad as Neath for quite a long time. All the Welsh Prem teams have just kind of been going about their business far too professionally for me.
Yeah, it's like Ponty have gone quiet in the last couple of years and haven't demanded a seat in the Challenge Cup or anything for like ages. So Wales really needs a second tier agitator, and I feel like
the old owner of Merthyr, owner of Merthyr, who was convinced that they should be playing in the URC. But you know, if they would, they'd be beating Leinster week in, week out.
This is the thing. We need this level of sort of deluded madness in the second tier in Welsh rugby, or else what would a lot of people talk about? You know. Also, people would forget that tier of Welsh rugby existed if not for Ponty claiming beating Munster A's as equivalent achievement to winning a Challenge Cup.
It's making Yestin's job of covering it so much easier.
Yeah. Everyone just some. I think I did an interview earlier on in the season, and someone actually mentioned that Munster game, and there was like, yeah, I know that happens. I know a couple of people who've said that quite a lot of times. Yeah. And swiftly moved on to the next question.
Oh, Ponty!
I saw that great meme of Tom Jones and the Simpsons. And he's being held at gunpoint. He's saying, "I support Neath and the EDC bid."
Yeah, or indeed the crusty I endorse this product or event level. They're so random as well. Like Jiffy, Shane, Zinzan Brook. It's like who next? Ian Watkinson got a lot on. He's probably
which one though?
Why not? Yeah. Either of them, to be honest. I mean, one of them would cause a hell of a lot more of a fucking news story than the other one. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Right, he's not Neath, and I love him, but this has got Mike Bubbins written all over it.
No, because Bubbs is pure fucking Cardiff. So
yeah, but he'll do anything for 30 quid.
That's true. Well, this is the thing. The Zinzan Brook one genuinely felt like somebody had asked for a cameo.
It is a cameo, 100%.
And it was even just like, it wasn't even like the language was so weirdly worded. Like Like, yeah, he didn't have a clue. Like, he hasn't even bothered to read the brief. He's just gone, yeah, good luck to Neath. He probably thinks they've got a cup final or something this weekend.
It's
Not
that
they're fighting for their existence.
That's what's coming next. Is because they put all their press conferences and press releases out at like 11:26 p.m. for some reason.
God knows what will happen while we're recording. By the way, you know.
we'll finish recording and we'll come off, and Jay from the In-Betweeners will have said Neath should be getting that spot.
There's
I've just seen that Rocco Kid's available on Cameo for like 15 quid. I bet he'd do it.
No, they asked me to join Cameo, and I thought it was very funny. I was in a queue at the time, and I laughed out loud, and then I never replied.
I love with you, Robbie. Less famous people than you do Cameo, so like could be a nice little earner there. Maybe you missed out on a lovely revenue stream.
I'm all right.
I'm amazed when I see like James Haskell and Andy Good and people like that on there, because I just think is like, even because James Haskell's like 57 quid or something like that and I'm just like, James, is it? I know the times is tough, mate. I know that you're not getting a lot of TV work.
Well, that divorce won't pay for itself,
and that divorce will not pay for itself. But like
taking his kids to the Ritz,
it's just like, at what point is he just sitting there like with a list of shout outs that he's got to do for people, thinking 57 quid for 3 minutes of my time?
He's
just psyching himself up in a mirror. You can imagine him just think about the 57 quid.
Have you seen who the cheapest cameos for rugby union are?
Oh, go on.
It's John Moonlight, the old Canada Sevens.
Oh God, yes, yeah. So because he scored a try the day after that Oscars, and I tweeted the try's been awarded to John La La Land.
And Ed Jackson, the former Dragons player, who's £12 as well, and Tafu Polotano.
Good player.
Closely followed by Tex Cavabati, former Osprey.
Yes. Tex, who genuinely like ended up like, he loves the Ospreys way more than somebody who played for us for the length of time that he played for us. Like
he was here for like 12 weeks when Dan Lydiate signed or something like that.
Yeah. And yet you always see him like commenting on like other Ospreys players is like stuff is like he clearly like it meant a lot to him. Weirdly.
You didn't see this dedication from Georgie Nemsadze, did you?
No.
And then, if you want to know how negotiations in Via Fafita's contract is Scarlet, he's now on Cameo for £24.
Oh.
Which is less than Max Evans.
Oh wow. Yeah. Max Evans had brief fame outside of rugby, I guess, which helps.
Yeah, true. Will Greenwood is more than Brian Habana.
Andy Good's the most expensive guy on there. He's 159 quid for. Genuinely, I expect Andy Good to come around and fucking mow my lawn for 159 quid.
DJ Forbes is more than Phil Vickery.
It just shows you put out what you're worth, you know.
DJ Forbes.
Like Nick Grigg is the same price as Martin Afire. Like that's Nick Grigg.
Good on him.
Which is more than Brian Abana. Nick Grigg thinks he's worth more than Brian Abana. Imagine that.
Right, enough Cameo
anyway.
Chat. Let's just go straight into the news. So, since we were last on in a revelation to me, we did discuss the Jack Walsh contract renewal. So he's definitely re-signed. We have confirmed the signature of Phil Cockiner-Singer for next season. And I said this on Rap the other day, that this is a Toby Booth family thing.
Reeks of him, doesn't it? It's
because if you go through his Twitter, he doesn't tweet much apart from dog photos, but he retweeted the sign-in video of Phil Cockiner-Singer.
Yeah,
like it was some sort of personal project, and I fully don't blame him.
Well, both Cockiner-Singers were Irish and then Bath while he was there, right?
Well, yeah. Joe definitely was. Phil would have been probably a bit too young.
But yeah, came through under him very much, Joe. Yeah. And, suppose he's worked with him in the past. But Booth.
I find, you find it hard to imagine that he wasn't also, he somebody like Booth when he was involved in the Irish youth system wasn't friendly with the whole family because
absolutely,
he gives that energy. So
and Joe followed Toby to Bath when he left, as so many of those players did. Which has always been the biggest endorsement of him is the fact that when he left London Irish, Anthony Watson followed him to Bath, Joe Singer followed him to Bath. You have so many of those players who jumped ship to follow him to work with him again.
What do we think of that signing? Because it's raised some questions about centre, because he's primarily a 12. He's played most of his rugby at 12, but 13 seems to be where we're weakest at. So yes, Dean, what do you think of the Phil Cockner-Singer signing?
I think the good news is that he's still got a lot of time to develop. He's still rather young, 22, 23, I think he is.
22.
So even if, maybe the centre position isn't deciding where he plays, there's, still a bit of time for him to develop. So if Booth either wants to see him as a 13, there's time for him to train there. Or if he sees him as a 12, maybe it's another option to Kieran Williams. There's obviously options there. So yeah, it's a good signing on a position that we did kind of need in a way, as maybe after the depth below the first choice of Watkin, Williams and now Boshoff for the end of the season. It looked a little bit bare, but it's nice to have additions in a centre, in a position that we needed.
Yeah, I think it shows that we've, because the fact that we've signed 2 lone centres this season sort of clearly demonstrates that whatever our centre stocks are at the moment, they are not the type or the quality of player that Booth wants playing in midfield. And certainly if the spectre of Owen Watkin actually being away in a meaningful way with Wales quite a lot this season now, which is something that I don't think most of us would have expected 12 months ago. It's probably real fucking cheap, candidly. He's not earning. He's not going to be on a big contract. It's probably a big prove it kind of deal, because it felt like he was on a prove it deal at Leicester, and he's had some success there, but with no George North next season, basically we didn't have any centres left aside from youth lads. And there's Tom Florence maybe, but
that's it. It's the thing Toby Booth said constantly about bringing through young players and wanting to do it deliberately, and so wanting to blood the likes of Morgan Morse and of Dan Edwards and so on very slowly and give them a chance to recover and not have to play them game on game. And it allows them to do that with Tom Florence next season. They don't have to be playing him in every game if Watkin picks up an injury or is away of Wales, or Kieran Williams picks up a knock because he runs into the only brick wall hard enough to keep him from it. And so it allows you to kind of, he runs into a mirror that reflects back at him.
But that's, the way that Kieran Williams plays, he, as much as I fucking love him, it isn't the sort of, it's not a playing style where you're going to be available every single game of the season because you just pick up knocks. And having a big lump at 12 like Cockner-Singer is not a, especially with, we forget them, it feels like ages ago, but Michael Collins was supposed to be here this season. And obviously, that stopped. And then George North is gone. Don Morris is going to have to go back to Saracens, sadly. I mean, that's not worked out, is it? I really thought that he would do more, but
no, he is so injury prone, man.
And he's just, even when he's been fit, it just seems like he's good to be a warm body at training, and that's about it. So, it's clearly a picture of need.
Why Saracens let him go in the middle of this run,
very easily.
Yeah.
The fact that you look at him the previous season and he spent most of it injured and only played 1 game, and then was sent out on loan to the Ospreys, played preseason friendly, scored a try, then played the first 2 games of the season, got injured in the second, and hasn't played since. And he's basically spent 2 straight years on the injury list.
Yeah. It's not great.
No.
To say the least.
So, speaking of cheap contracts, we signed Stephen Thomas from the Scarlets, which is fair. Like as I said on Rap, with it's very much a Duncan Jones signing. They wouldn't pick him up if they didn't see longevity and potential in him. He's only played 57 times for the Scarlets in however many years. He's also Gareth Thomas's cousin. But the main bit I want to talk about is the video, because it's pissed a lot of Scarlets off. Him in full kit, a la Ellis Genge a few years ago when he signed for Bristol. What's your thoughts on appearing in full kit for your new team before you even signed for them, Josh?
I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. It's like, I didn't mind the Genge thing. I generally don't mind people getting a bit fucking cheeky with signing announcements. And also, it's like, he is literally, would it be like, would people care as much if he was holding an Ospreys shirt? Which is like a standard thing you do when you saw. Like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. Like, he's going to be wearing it eventually. Like,
Yeah.
do you think that he's somehow not going to be committed to the Scarlets when they don't give him any fucking game time anyway?
Well, that's the thing. He's not going to play again this season anyway.
Yeah. It's like, does it really matter? Like, I don't know. I think particularly if you're a Scarlets fan at the moment, you're probably hypersensitive and looking for reasons to be upset about stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why you need to go looking for something else to be angry about. Like, haven't you got enough already?
Well, this is the thing. They can't be angry at the thing that is actually causing the anger, because the thing that is causing the anger is their coach is terrible, their players are terrible, and the club is a fucking shambles at the moment. But it's very hard to maintain that level of anger at something you love, so you kind of just look to misdirect your anger at other things. Like the Genge Bristol thing is an interesting one, because like obviously Leicester fans kind of grumbled a little bit about that, but they didn't really care because they were top of the fucking league and they were going to win the Premiership that year. Like, it's a lot easier for Scarlets, and I get it. Like, it would be equally annoying. I would probably be a little bit annoyed if the shoe was on the other foot. But the worst thing that's ever happened to us is Scott Williams going back there. So
there is levels. If I saw James Fender in a Scarlet jersey, I'd commit war crimes.
Yeah, I think it's different when it's a promising, really exciting young player that you think is going to go. And let's face it, the Scarlets have had plenty of that in the last couple of years. Ha ha, Jack Morgan in your faces.
But he loves the Ospreys, man.
He does now, yeah.
I think this is the best move for Steph Thomas as a player as well.
Definitely, 100%.
He's moving to somewhere we still edge above Wales, who have an exceptional scrum coach. And you look at the way that Toby Booth and Duncan Jones turned Gareth Thomas into, from the fourth choice prop at the Ospreys, who've been struggling to get game time at the Scarlets as well, into the starting loose head for Wales. And they're very good at working with those raw materials. And that's clearly what they've seen in him, is they've gone, here's a player who is already up to URC standard. Can we push him on and get him to be the top end of URC through, properly working with him and developing him as a scrummager? And also, it gives you time for the Cameron Joneses of the world, the Freddie Chapmans of the world, who look very good at age grade levels, and in cameo, the cameo that Cameron Jones, no, not that one, had, looked perfectly good to the Ospreys, but it gives them time to develop where, again, you don't have to put them in if, Gareth Thomas is with Wales, and then heaven forbid, Reece Henry picks up an injury. Again, you're not forcing these 20-year-old props in, especially when we're a team very much built on set piece.
Yeah, and it is the thing that has gone badly for the Ospreys in the last couple of years, and that has notably not gone badly this season, is when we had a couple of particularly front row injuries, like a couple of, the last 4 or 5 years. And all of a sudden, you're dropping in some lad who's 19 and is not fucking ready, and they get their head shoved up their arse, and they don't really get over it, because it's too much too soon, and it actually stunts their development as opposed to actually, the Warren Gatland good enough, old enough thing is demonstrably not fucking true if they're not ready, as Wales are proving this season. And I just think it's just a really smart bit of business, which increasingly is kind of what we do now. It's like we just sign sensible players on sensible contracts.
Low risk contracts.
There's low risk. There's a massive upside, and also we're an attractive place for that sort of caliber of player to come because we make players better.
Yeah.
Well, the Tom Francis one is the one that sticks out to me. Is he met Duncan Jones in Cardiff, and Duncan Jones called him terrible at scrimmaging. So he was like, "Oh well, I want to see what this is all about." Then. And
he showed him clips.
Dominant pack.
Showed him clips on his laptop of him being shit and being dominated. I was like, "We will solve this for you."
So,
and he will replay us by almost never ever playing for the Ospreys. Anyway,
on to injury news. Let's start with the bad news first. Rhys Davies is out for the rest of the season. Had operation today on his patella tendon, which is absolutely gutting for him. We have dubbed him the cunt because that is what he is. Playing out of his skin, unreal. Should be in the Wales squad. If you want all Six Nations, I've been hearing, we need grunt, we need hard bastards, we need carrying. Well, Rhys Davies was right there, and you discarded him.
So mad shit. He should be in the Wales squad, and it's gutted for him because patella tendon injuries are nasty as well. So that is probably going to be him done for about a year, which is a big old fucking loss.
In better news, come back from injury one game beforehand as well.
Yeah.
In better news, Sam Parry is available for Friday. I don't believe him because he said this last week, and not that we ever believed him last week, but he is apparently available for Friday.
Let's face it, Lewis Lloyd came in and played exceptionally well.
Well, and all while being inexplicably handsome as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which
There's
I think
nothing inexplicable about his handsomeness. He just is the sexiest rugby player in the world. But
it's properly like Disney Channel teen heartthrob stuff.
Yeah, he looks like he's at High School Musical.
Yeah.
And he's got the haircut for it as well.
Yeah. And incredibly enthusiastic about everything as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his energy on Saturday.
His dad likes our stuff on Twitter as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Big up Lee Lloyd.
This reminds me of when Greg Underhill started sort of liking all of my things when Sam Underhill was with us. It just felt a bit weird. Still does, though, to be fair.
Well, me and Robbie have got inexplicable friendship with James Fender's mum.
Oh, on Reddit, yeah.
Yeah.
Inexplicable about that.
So,
I want to be friends with James Fender's mum.
James Fender's mum is really big on Reddit and is always posting about how proud she is of her son.
I love that.
And apparently the Ospreys had details leak that weren't supposed to leak because James Fender's mum just posted them on Reddit.
Lovely stuff. Including
finally, two final things. The 4 players that have gone out to Bloemfontein with the Cheetahs have now been confirmed. I've had the details of most of them for a while. I've just not been allowed to link them out of fear of my life. So they are Cameron Jones, the prop, not the scrum half, Tristan Davis, Will Hickey, and Lewis Jones. So way back in February, I was sent a list that contained Cameron Jones, Lewis Jones, and Luke Scully, but they seem to have gone against Luke Scully now and kept him here. He was at the stadium on Saturday. The one that surprised me there, or two actually, is Will Hickey and Tristan Davis, because they've played the most senior rugby. Tristan Davis in particular is very comfortable at this level. Yeston, what does that tell you that they're being sent down? Is it a good thing? They want to hone their development more? Or?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good thing because I saw Cam Jones and Tristan Davis play in the Welsh Prem a few weeks ago when they played Pompey and St Helens. So, I think they've been rather frequent in there as well. Obviously, Hickey came back from injury. I had a couple of games with Swansea before coming back into the Ospreys. fold. But yeah, there's any opportunity to go down to South Africa and play, and further on your development is just a good experience. Because I think probably going down there and playing in the SA Cup or the Currie Cup is probably a bit better than now, because it's the end of the Welsh Premiership season. All the games with the clubs are all done, so to get more game time under your belt is obviously going to help all four of those players.
Yeah. I think particularly Lewis Jones this will really help with, because you saw how much good going and playing the championship did for James Fender.
And Garen
where,
Phillips.
Yeah, for all the benefits of the Welsh Prem, the Currie Cup, the SA Cup, and the English Prem are more forward-oriented leagues, and you've got a better chance to develop as a forward. And so Cameron Jones has a great chance to scrummage there, and Lewis Jones in particular, I think. Again, we've just seen how well it's worked for locks in the past, and how many freakishly good locks South Africa seems to produce. If we can steal 1% of whatever's in the water there and feed it back into that very tall boy, then there could be something exciting there.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly it's clearly a higher level of competition than the Welsh Prem. Let's not fucking kid ourselves here. It's the Currie Cup, the SA Cup, whatever. And it's just good, man. It's a different environment. It's a different rugby culture. It's a different approach to the game. It's a different climate. It's playing rugby in like 30 degrees where it hasn't rained in 6 months. It's not like playing for Swansea or playing for Everton or whatever. But I agree with you though that the Will Hickey thing was an interesting one, because it kind of feels like the Will Hickey experiment is entering its final stages, because he's been here 2 years now.
Admittedly, he spent a lot of that with ACL injury.
Yeah, but it's a case of, like, obviously Leinster cut him loose before he even really had a chance there. He was, when he was signed, there was a lot of hype and a lot of talk about the upside and the potential that he had to be a really, really fucking top player. And, injuries have obviously played a massive part of that, but there's only so long that a team of our level and budget can keep persisting with a player like him, because he can't, I'm sure he's not on a big wage, but for a player of his impact on the squad, I bet he's on more money than a lot of players who have played a hell of a lot more rugby for the Ospreys over the last 2 years.
So if he goes, who's going to offer strangers in the camp cake? That'd be my main takeaway. Also telling, there's just something in the fact that, he's played 6 games with the Ospreys rather, so far, 3 of them against South African teams. So maybe that's just his thing. Maybe he just loves playing South Africans.
South African dudes. He's just like, I want to just be playing nothing but South African dudes. I'm with them.
I like violence, and that's it.
Yeah,
I like violence.
And the answer to your question, Robbie, surely it's Jack Regan. Like, it's got to be an Irish thing.
Jack Regan's run off to Japan, hasn't he?
He's gone.
Has he gone?
He's now playing for Shoki Shuttles.
Oh, fair play. Good luck to him.
With bearded Tian Thomas Wheeler.
Oh, hello.
His final form. He's got a proper beard.
Has he still got the same sort of vertical hair?
Yes.
Excellent.
I actually messaged him about it the other day. Because
is his beard in the style of his hair? So he looks like he's got a very cube head.
I'm going to put it in the group chat and send it to Josh separately.
Okay.
So I'll let it fester while I'm talking about the next point. But it suits him. Like it does suit him.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah, he looks very much like a professional rugby player now.
Yeah,
that's the most professional rugby player looking face I've seen in a long time.
It looks like he
does that. He really suits that.
Yeah. He looks like he's got photos of Damien Dialende on his wall, and he's like, yes, do you know what? I want to be like him.
God, I genuinely didn't realise the Jack Regan thing had been like that. Must completely pass me by.
Yeah, he went a couple of weeks ago.
What a waste that was.
Yeah.
Oh, he's from the Highlanders. Oh, he's good. Is he?
No, he played for Otago.
Yeah.
All right, and
Anyway.
then finally in news desk, Lance Bradley calls Wales Online shit after they posted a headline. Admittedly, not the journalist, that there was a headline saying that 4 players have left to go to South Africa, which again, not technically wrong, but very, very cheeky. So much so that Wales Online have actually, Lance has just tweeted in the last 5 minutes that Wales Online have actually called him and apologised. So, yeah, for all the good Lance does, he's now fighting back. It's mainly funny because they've been forced for the past 2 weeks to write good things about us because no one else is doing it.
And it really feels like a sort of like gritted teeth, like sea change of the coverage that they've had to sort of do, because we've been this good for ages. Like the Ospreys have been the best team in Wales by a distance all season long, and it
feels a little bit like the whole of the Welsh rugby media is waking up to what the Ospreys have been for a while. Literally the last week and a half, the lead up to that game against Sale, and now this week them having won it in the lead up to the Gloucester game. It feels like people have finally worked out what was going on here for a few years, frankly.
Yeah. Well, the best one was on the 2nd of April. They uploaded a article. I can't remember what the actual article was, but they put 4 combined lines for Morgan Morris and Morgan Morse and dedicated 3 whole paragraphs to Eddie James. The man who's played about 6 games of rugby for the and can't start over Jonathan Davis, a man who's so slow that I think I could outpace him when I play in Counties 4B in the south of England. So yeah, that tells you where they're at. It does feel like every time. Josh is absolutely right. Every time they say something about us, it's through gritted teeth. And yes, then your acceptance conversation.
I was gonna say, like, I think the turning point was Yestin going back into Wales Online. I think suddenly everything changed overnight the moment you re-emerged in their office.
Come here. Sort it out.
I really don't think I can comment on this. Could I carry on the conversation, please?
You're not on placement, Yestin. No, it's like they're having to say things about Morgan Morris. Because the thing with Morgan Morris, right, we'll come on to it in the game, is he's outstanding. And yet every time in the article they'll say, oh, but he's not very big. But do you know who is big? Mackenzie Martin. Like that's what happens every time. I'm like, Morgan Morris is the same size as Ben Earl.
We never have this conversation about Alex Mann, who isn't big.
Yeah.
Or like it's like Alex Mann weighs like less than most of the backs. And that's part but it's never a problem.
Well, he's Alex Mann, not Alex Men. He doesn't weigh multiple people's weight.
But yeah, with that, I thought that Lance probably got a bit fucking over the top about this story, to be honest, because I get it. I work in online media. Sometimes you got to write headlines that are a little bit kind of stretchy with the truth, because otherwise people won't click on shit. And so 4 players leave Ospreys for South Africa. You go, what the fuck? And click on that. 4 players go on loan to South Africa. Nobody's clicking that shit. So in a slow Wales news day, I understand the game that they're having to play, even if I
in
don't
the
particularly
last
agree
hour,
with it.
I have posted a video called "Is Jameson Gibson Park the perfect modern 9?" I can't criticize them at all.
The answer is no.
I mean,
because Tom Haberfield exists.
Everyone's got to play this game, man.
I went into that video fully intending to mention Tom Haberfield, then reached the end and published it, and was like, I forgot to mention the best scrum half to have played the game in the modern era. And as well as DuPont, I didn't mention Tom.
Right. Should we talk about the game?
Yeah.
I have to take a back seat on this because you 3 fuckers were actually there. So you were at the Brewery Field. The most miserable stadium to potentially ever exist.
Yes, I've told this joke a few times now, and I told it to Robbie when I arrived. But literally, I got out of the car in the car park at Brewery Field, and the woman getting out of the car next to me just looked around and went, "Fucking hate this town." I just walked off.
She's from Bridgend.
I don't know, maybe she was. But yeah, I mean, the atmosphere was fucking belting, and it was unbelievably good. Like, and it felt way more than 4,000 people were there, whether they'd come in late or whether they'd sneaked in or what. But
I have a theory about this. So I actually messaged Lance, my close personal friend, Lance Bradley, and asked about the ticketing situation. And he said that 4,225 is the amount of tickets sold. Yeah, everything I see on Reddit and on Twitter and on Facebook is that the scanners weren't working.
Yeah, there was a.
So, I'm not saying that
played a part in that as well. I think
3,000
scanning well in the rain. Yeah.
I'm not saying 3,000 just turned up because the scanners weren't working, but as someone who was at the Cardiff game in New Year, it definitely wasn't that much, but it didn't look like a low 4,000.
Didn't look like half as many people there.
No.
And
it certainly didn't bloody sound like it as well.
No, and on the terraces, it didn't feel like it wasn't like you weren't jam packed into the terrace. No. But it was there was not a lot of room to maneuver.
And having watched the game back as well on TV, I don't think it gets across just how loud it was. I think you're getting a far more select version of it. And I did, I don't know if Yestin, your experience was similar. Whereabouts were you, Yestin?
I was in the stand, but I was a bit further on, so I was basically on line, the 10-meter line. So the intercept happened right in front of me.
Oh, man.
I was in line with it. So
How was that?
It's just brilliant because I watched it back then the next day, and Gwyn Jones on Welsh commentary said, just by sensible rugby playing in these weather conditions, and then a phase later to pray frozen interception.
We were sort of stood on the 22-ish, there or thereabouts, and from the angle that we were, I just saw him sort of steaming in from and it was weird because you could just see him moving through the line so quickly, and it was just like, oh shit, something good's gonna happen here, or something real bad. The
noise I made,
moment, honestly.
The noise I made, I don't think was human. It was either a beast or a vacuum cleaner's noise, and I'm not quite sure which.
I couldn't tell you because I was too busy just absolutely losing my fucking shit.
Well, I was still reeling from the first. The
exactly. That's the thing. It's
then he goes and does that, and I instantly messaged Ruben's. We got a very good mutual friend, and I went, "Are you watching this?" He went, "Nah, I turned it off after 10 minutes." I went, "Your best mate has just got an interception try. Useless, you useless hack."
It was. I think that was the thing because we just scored. I was already at a 10 emotionally, and I was not prepared for anything to go above that. I was expecting my level to sort of have time to at least settle down, but we were still fucking fully on our uppers when that intercept went, and I just completely lost the fucking mind myself.
That second try would have been right by you guys, wouldn't it? Or right near you guys.
Yeah, right in front, Keelan Giles try. Yeah,
I was because of the angle where we were standing. I was deathly afraid that the TMO was going to look at it and see one of those passes was forward.
I thought both of them were forward from where, but it's just the angle we were at.
Okay, so Well, I was going to talk about the first try. Then we spoke about the other two. Wow, Jack Welsh handling skills, man.
And also just incredible ability to execute because it was so against the run of play.
We had 100%.
Been absolutely under the pump for the entire game up to that point. And it was like, okay, we get a bit of territory, get a bit of possession now, feel our way into the game. Nope, it was like absolute fair play, back ourselves and our handling skills and try to score a try whenever we were inside the 10-meter line, really. And it was so unexpected.
We wouldn't have scored that try a year ago.
No. And I think that was the thing. It was a game-breaking moment because that game has felt so tight. It hadn't felt like there was a try in it. And if it was coming, it was going to be from a series of pick and drives that could take 30 phases. The sort of thing Sale attempted a few times, right?
Yeah.
And again, those opening stages, Sale became the latest team to join the ranks of sides who have underestimated the Ospreys, and particularly Ospreys' defence this season. And so that succession of them going for the corner, of them picking and driving, of them doing the quick tap,
Man.
Yeah, all of them losing the ball, resulting in 0. Or no, I think they got 3 points out of about 5 or 6 kickable penalties because they were consistently going for the corner and going for low percentage plays because they figured they could roll the Ospreys over and they could get an early blow in.
Well, they
none of
figured
them
it could go like it went against the Scarlets in the Champions Cup a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Where they just bulldozed the fuck out of them for 20 minutes. There was nothing. They beat them so bad after that 20 minutes, there was nothing left for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Or at the very least, they could prevent what happened against Cardiff last year, where they got a big emotional start after the Peter Thomas tribute at the start. And then Cardiff kind of weren't on that level for the next 50 minutes after that opening half an hour. And Sale got back in the game. They just about managed to close it out, Cardiff. But no, the Ospreys are a more mature team and more capable of shutting down those situations.
It seemed like all their analysis was that came from 2021.
Yeah.
Where all they did was just maul it and then get surprised when Matt Prothero was really quick.
Yeah.
Like that's literally all they did. And a lot of Sale players did not do themselves any justice that game. Like if they're second team, whatever, fringe players, but like, who was it? Ben Bamber did not have a good game and is not a real man. Their centres might as well have been anonymous.
Yeah, they were the sort of lads that when you saw them warming up, you were like, fuck me, these are big lads. And it was like, oh, God. And then it was like, oh, look, none of you are Manny Tuilagi, it's fine.
Yeah. 5 years ago, the name Tulisa Vaianu would have been scary.
Yeah.
But now it was just, it was quite sad watching him at fullback. Do you two want to tell me about Harri Deaves' anecdote? I've heard so much about the communism anecdote.
Harri Deaves, you mean how he's a socialist hero?
I know that, but what happened when he made a turnover?
So there was a moment, and I think it was a genuinely quite significant moment in my quiet confidence about the Ospreys this season. We talked about this podcast before. There's one move where they kind of target the tail of the line out because the Ospreys like to have the back player in the line out, normally Morgan Morris, work incredibly hard and drift out onto 10. And then that then leaves the kind of a big gap where they normally have one of the props behind. That you get Morgan Morris or you get whoever it is to drift out, and then they fire it back in on the inside ball off 10, and the Lions scored a try off that in that game in South Africa. The Dragons scored a try off that. There's it's happened fairly consistently. Edinburgh scored a try off that. This season, sorry,
Connacht start the season did it.
Of course, yeah. It's just happened over and over again. It's been kind of the big Achilles heel. There's an easy 7 points if a team's done their analysis that they catch them out in the same move over and over again. And Sale ran that move right before half time. And right as it started to open up, Morgan Morris made a heroic kind of scrag tackle and gets him to ground. And Harri Deaves just appears over the top, bright yellow scrum cap, and nicks the ball, comes back with it. Referee gives a penalty. Me and Josh both, completely without discussing it, yelled the word communism.
Look, he was putting the needs of the proletariat ahead of himself and his body, and frankly, what a socialist icon he is.
Seized the means of trying.
He seized the means of playing rugby,
possession,
i.e. the ball. Yeah.
I had to
give him a red scrum cap for next season.
I had to explain to Jamie Phillips why he's a socialist icon because I realised it's not.
How did that go?
Joke. It's a niche joke outside of the Ospreys in the circle. And he was like, oh shit, okay, I get it. I was like, you weren't there for when he broke through in the Wales under 20s, so everyone went on his Twitter and turns out he hates Tories.
Holy shit, he hates the Tories. Still hates the Tories, by the way.
Yeah.
That is as recently as a couple of weeks ago, retweeting anti-Tory shit. I love him so much.
I wouldn't even call him the Prince of Pontyclun because he's not a monarchist.
They went to the horse racing for a day and he posted Tory for the day with him in a flat cap.
Him and Jack Welsh.
Yeah.
He was so. I was because he got taken off about 60 odd minutes. Didn't he? I was very surprised they gave him man of the match or player of the match for 60 minutes.
I thought he was the best player on the pitch for the 60 minutes he played. But as
He
you say,
was.
yeah,
Oh, no.
surprised
And
he
his
held out. For
interventions, it wasn't just that one before half time. His interventions at the breakdown were, momentum shifting within those, particularly in the first 20 minutes where things were going awry. His work of the breakdown was a big part of the reason why we kept the fucking lid on things, basically.
It's been a big theme this season of each home game for the Ospreys seems to be the game where a different young player steps up, right? And so, you had Ulster was the game where Dan Edwards steps up. Cardiff was the game where Morgan Moore steps up. You had, I suppose it was an away game, but the Scarlets, you had James Fender, and you just had this run of like young players really kind of putting their name on it and coming forward and declaring themselves as worthy of being in this team and the next big thing, and having these huge man of the match performances. Yes, and Hopkins against Perpignan. And this week, I think we had both Harri Deaves showing that he can play at a higher level than he has been already, which has been a very good fill-in, very good kind of second choice, and showing no, he deserves a starting spot and he can play and mix it with, a team who was in the final of the Premiership last season and very easily, but for like a bounce of a ball, could have been in the knockouts of the Big Cup. And then also you had Lewis Lloyd, who I thought was absolutely exceptional.
So good, man. He's just so energetic around the pitch. This is a very loose. He reminds me a lot of like a Schalke Brits. He's just running around the pitch and just being so athletic.
He fucking hits hard as well, man.
He does. He really, really does.
He really was. And also, it just feels like off the bench a couple of times that he's had this season, the run-outs that he's had, he's not been he's been fine, but he's not been amazing. But like, it feels like, because when Sam Parry was ruled out and it was Lewis Lloyd, it was like, I hope he's ready for this. And I think that he just demonstrated that actually he's much better if you give him like a full 60, damn near 80 minutes that he had to actually get the feel for the game. Then he's real fucking good, rather than sort of asking him to sort of appear as a cameo off the bench or whatever.
Yeah.
Shout out Chris Moore, by the way. 2 training sessions. Comes on for 2 minutes, makes 3 tackles and a carry. Like
1 minute per training session.
Yeah.
It's his darts as well. We had a couple of lineouts while he was on.
No, I think it didn't. Did we have any lineout? I thought it was all defensive ones.
Yeah, it was all defensive ones, I think.
Oh, okay. I to be honest with you, it was very hard to know when he came on in the ground.
Well, I asked Kalen on Twitter, and I was like, "What's his darts like?" He was like, "He's good around the park." So I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Yes. Then who else impressed you? Anyone?
I was gonna say Morgan Morris as well. He made a really good turnover just before the 2 tries happened. He just comes into the break and Noah wins the turnover, kick to touch, maul, and then a couple of tries happened then, which is rather exciting. And even someone like Justin Tipuric managed a pinch of turnover as well in one of the first turnovers of the game, which was Justin Tipuric-esque at times, before Deaves kind of stole the limelight. After a shaky start, I thought Owen Williams actually went really well.
Yeah.
I know
his game management was excellent in the end.
I know his kicking, everyone's kind of spoken about it, that it's not been top notch this season compared to someone like Jack Walsh or compared to Owen Williams last season. But out of hand, at times on Saturday, I thought it was brilliant. The one where he just sent out on first phase, Viano drops the ball, mad cheers from the crowd, because it was rather funny, I thought. And then he did the same thing then just before half time, a little chip in behind. It would have been a 50-22 if the pass wasn't from inside the half. And he caught out Reid, who was probably a little bit too forward instead of covering the kick back. And then from that line out, Morgan Morris scored. So, those are like the 2 standout moments that I kind of had. And despite they were wearing the wrong numbers, I thought the centres went well as well. Kieran Williams, his typical carrying game. I don't know how
he smokes folk as well. In tackles, he just smokes people.
Like one of the carries, you think, oh, right, there's a couple of SEAL defenders there. He's not going to get him anywhere. And then all of a sudden, he breaks 2 tackles, and you're thinking, how has he done that?
His
And
leg
then-
drive is fucking unbelievably good. And also, he's really, really good. And there's something you really get the sense of watching it at pitch level as well is how good his footwork is before contact. Like that little sort of half step that he does to kind of to attack a soft shoulder, combined with that, what a fucking unit he he's real hard to bring down. Wrong numbers though.
So he got taken out for the Morgan Morris try by Robert by the other Dupree, and someone put it on Facebook saying that it should have been like a yellow card or red card, and his brother commented on it saying, "Fuck, I wish that was me doing that." And from first-hand experience, I can tell you how hard Kieran Williams hits, and it is fucking hard. He once dropped me on my head at under 14s level and did not get sent off because I think it was his dad refereeing.
Is his dad free to referee on Friday? Can we get him back out?
It's busy. For me, I will say it again. Every time Ruben Morgan Williams gets doubted or there's cause for him to be dropped, he just continues to impress. For me, his game management is so much better.
Yeah, the notion that Kieran Hardy's going to come in next season and automatically start, I think, is the sort of thing that it shows that people in the rugby media don't watch as much of the Ospreys as they should do, to be honest. Because, like, don't get me wrong, we clearly need to sign him because when the other Cam Jones came on, I think me and Robbie were both just like, why is Ruben
Luke
Williams
Davis.
gone off?
Luke Davis.
Sorry, came on. Yeah. It was like, why is Ruben Williams gone off? Because I don't like how this is going to go. And to be fair, I didn't. I really didn't.
It was fucking awful. I hate it.
It was just like, oh god. I think the first two box kicks were basically just straight up in the air. And I know it was windy, but it wasn't that windy by that point. And and we clearly need depth at 9 that is in the mold of what we want to do. And what you were saying earlier, Robbie, about kind of like in scrum half stakes, we're kind of being forced to play players that are probably not ready yet.
Yeah.
And so I think Kieran Hardy next season will be a fucking useful addition, but I don't, he's gonna have to play real fucking well to get Ruben Morgan Williams' shirt off him because he's absolutely belting at the moment.
I completely agreed. And also, just to pick up on Yeston's point about Owen Williams, who had that slightly rough start where he put 2 kicks out in the full. But the thing that really stands out about Owen Williams to me is the fact he's completely unflustered by any mistake he makes. A lot of players would put that kick out in the full and they then wouldn't attempt a kick close to the touchline a moment later. And if they put that one then out on the full, but if they then put that one out on the full, it would affect them all game. We've seen it from plenty of players in the past at all levels, all abilities. And the way Owen Williams just compartmentalizes and puts it to one side and just gets on with it. And again, we were, saying to someone afterwards, but who was actually a listener. I apologize, I didn't get the name. I'd met Wolford Road beforehand as well. That
Harry?
No, it was
No, it wasn't Harry.
I apologize. Yeah, I didn't catch his name. But hopefully we'll run into him on Friday and ask. But Owen Williams is a player who, despite the fact he'd been missing all night, his goal kicking percentage was not great that night. I'm not sure whether
it wasn't not great. It was fucking awful, Robbie. Let's call it out for what it is.
But he was at maybe 2 out of 6?
Yeah.
Going into that final kick. And here's the thing, I wasn't confident, as Josh can attest to at the time. But looking back on it, he was always going to nail that important one at the end. Yeah. You turned the face away from the bar. Turned the face away from the pitch.
I couldn't look at the one that he missed shortly before. Yeah. And then I was just like, I can't even be in communion with the pitch at this point. I just need to look at something else.
But I kind of feel like
I was screaming, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off for the entire thing.
Yeah, I remember my dad saying, hindsight's a lovely thing, but we should have gone for the corner as he was lining up the kick, to take some time off the clock. So there's still, 2 minutes.
Actually, what you said, Robbie.
Yeah.
And I didn't disagree in that moment. It was just like, the lineup's working, fuck it, let's kill the clock. But given what happened after that, in terms of how they were battering down on our line, it was just like, like I'm so glad that kick went over, because that last 5 minutes would have been, well, that last minute and a half would have been hell if he'd missed it.
Yeah, and from the angle that we were sat at, it looked like it was going wide. Obviously, it curved back in. So it looked like it was going wide. And you're thinking, oh no, is he just put this one wide? And then obviously it creeps in. So, and if he did miss it, that'd have been a really tense couple of minutes or so, because Sale had been,
Sale were fully on their uppers at that point, and we just
Yeah.
needed something to stop the bleeding. And and then they just made terrible decisions for the last 2 minutes, where it was just like you had a penalty, kick a fucking goal, drop it if you need to. You need more than 7 points. Why are you going to the corner? It was, I mean, they did have the energy of just like, could do with not playing next week, actually, if I'm honest, lads.
Yeah, Nye Thomas clearly did not want to play next week. Before we move on, there's two things I want to bring up. Adam Beard was fucking excellent.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Genuinely, like, I'm sure that this is discussed regularly on this podcast, but is there a more criminally underappreciated player in Wales than Adam Beard?
No.
Everybody and his nan seemingly thinks he's shit, when every single game he's just fucking excellent.
Yeah.
Toby mentioned
in almost every
facet
facet of the game.
Today. He said that Adam Beard is criminally underrated and is excellent at what he does. And he said, if you lose 6 lineups in a game, you're not going to win a match.
Yeah.
And also, if you concede 6 maul tries in a game, you're not going to win a match either. And his ability to disrupt mauls is probably the best in the world.
Well, he did that first one, and he just picked someone up and just he picked Rafi Quirk up and just drove him backwards like he was like a toddler in a play area.
But also, people don't just because he doesn't carry like Will Rowlands does. People don't appreciate that he's got lovely hands. His passing is really good. It's genuinely really good. And he does it all the time. Those little, the number of times that he'll do those little pullback passes in midfield, and it's like, this is a fucking 6'10" lock we're talking about here.
Me and Yestin have, for as long as we've known each other, which is a good couple of years now, have been singing this since Southern Kings 2018, where he's throwing missed 2 passes like he's fucking Marnonu in his prime.
Yeah. As much as I hate to give him credit for anything, that's Wayne Pivac and Stephen Jones, because he didn't used to be able to do that. He's like the one of the few players who responded to what Wayne Pivac and Stephen Jones were trying to do by actually adding to his skill set in a way that Warren Gatland would never have asked him to do that. It's like he would have just continued to be a very, very functional, destructive, defensive and set-piece lock, and a dude that hits a hell of a lot of fucking rucks. But no, actually, he's got a dimension to his game that very few other locks in Wales actually do. And yet people still say shit.
No other locks in Wales have the hands that he has.
And people will still not even would drop him out the squad tomorrow. Most of the people who seem to talk about rugby in Wales, and I'll never get it. I will never get it.
The second point was, have you all had a chance to see the Harri Deaves post-match interview?
Yes.
Yeah.
He just loves playing on grass, man. He just loves playing on grass. My mum texts me saying, is this guy on tag? Because he is the most Pontyclean Valleys boy I've ever seen in my life.
Also, and I get it, because a lot of the time professional rugby players in this day and age are not playing on grass. Certainly in Wales.
And he just loves playing on grass.
He just fucking loves it, And why wouldn't you? I mean, it wasn't the best pitch I've ever seen, but it was fine.
Damn sight better than it was at New Year's. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah, the drainage didn't have to work quite as hard.
No.
I will say, though, for all the Brewery Field talk about, even though it was a great atmosphere, there is absolutely no fucking way that the Ospreys should move there full time.
No. Everyone knows this.
It's just silly to see people even entertain the idea. It's like that ground with the entirely excluded from the actual bit where the fans watch is a fucking shithole. And is not up to standard for.
There's not enough room to do what the Ospreys want.
God no.
And
it's too close to Cardiff.
You listen to Lance Bradley on the Scrum 5 pod, saying that in order to break even, they need to be selling 10K tickets every game on attendance alone. So they're going to need to look at other revenue streams. And I don't think you're going to get that from that location in Bridgend.
No.
So
no one's going to a conference in Bridgend. They're doing it by the sea in
Yeah.
Swansea.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Buy a Tesco in Bridgend.
Yeah.
It felt like it was in the middle of several Tesco's in Bridgend. Like it was like a sort of like the axle around which all of the Bridgend supermarkets sort of spin. Maybe
Where are you
that's
playing this?
how they
Where are we
designed
playing
it.
this week, lads? Big Tesco away.
I mean, you can literally see the big Tesco filling station uninterrupted from the terrace, and it sort of feels like you could just wander out into, and indeed we did, in fact, wander out into the Tesco filling station after the game finished. So,
And
what a time to
then,
be alive.
Of course, the players mingling. You commented on Josh on Blood and Mud, and Robbie, you said the same on the group chat. It was the lads just sort of walking around, being amongst it.
Yeah, I don't know whether they were going up to into a box or whatever through that way, but they did seem to come. Jack Morgan and Dewi Lake and Rhys Davis and Gaz Thomas were all.
Gaz Thomas, he was on the pitch.
Not Gaz Thomas. The other one.
Yeah, a lot of them. Well, no, a lot of them were sat in the, because James Fender and Will Griffiths were sat in like just behind the dugout, which is where a lot of them sit.
We were on completely they were over the opposite side of the pitch.
I remember being at Alan Wynne Jones's testimonial thing against Barbarians, and we'd somehow blagged our way into like the VIP bit, which is basically you've got access to the clubhouse. Where Jiffy was incredibly wine drunk. But in the next bit, there were some boxes.
Tweeting, asking Premier Sports their fucking human figures. That's going to start again, by the way. Who's ready for that?
Show me the numbers. And all you could see in this box was just Rhys Davis. It's just taking up the whole window. and then they all came down and sort of started mingling. But Jiffy was so incredibly wine drunk and sunburnt that day. Is the only thing I remember. But yeah, so that was Ospreys versus Sale. We won a European knockout game. They cannot take that away from us now.
The other thing that but there was that disbelief, and especially when Sale got back into it, and that moment of going, "Oh God, no! This is the curse is back." Yeah. The curse that took Stade Francais to their first away win in 3 years or whatever it was, and the curse that saw Newcastle win their first game since 1826 and since Johnny Wilkinson broke his leg for the first time. Biarritz, bloody, the curse that brought Neil back to life.
It felt so like it was weighing on everyone in the stadium when Sale scored the first try, everyone went, "Oh, this is because of the ease with which that try was scored, because we were clearly blowing a bit by then, and then particularly the ease of which that second try was scored, albeit was it actually scored? I don't know. It felt like if that game had been another 5 minutes. I think we probably would have lost. But thankfully, rugby games are only 80 minutes and change. So, yeah.
So, I think we should do a very quick good player where I'm just going to... So, give me... it's A or B.
Oh, no. B. Go on then. Let's spice it up.
B. Right. So, you've gone for 2008. Oof. So, this is Ospreys 32. Gloucester 15 in 2008. I've literally got photos of Justin Tipperick instead. Whereas, apologies. So,
I'm glad you ignored my suggestion of the EDF Energy Cup semi-final where the Ospreys lost 17-0 to Gloucester.
It's a fucking looply.
I was there that day. Were you there as well?
Yes, I was also there
in Coventry.
I was also there at the one in the Millennium Stadium where we battered Saracens in the EDF semi-final, and then we had them in the Heineken Cup away 2 weeks later. And we were like, "Oh, this is gonna be fucking easy." We absolutely battered this mob, and then we lost. Of course, we did.
Game in Cardiff was my first Ospreys game. That Cardiff, the battering of Saracens, 30 points to 3.
Gavin Henson in his full emo dude with beard. Probably the best Gavin Henson. Oh,
Until
don't know,
now with Jack Walsh, who is now Gavin Henson.
2005.
Yeah.
Gavin Henson, as we established in the Edinburgh episode of the week.
Yeah.
So it's 2 weeks before he won us the league in Edinburgh. He was posing on the red carpet for Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen.
That was probably when Gav was his best, but my favourite Gav is emo fringe beard Gav.
Fair enough.
That was good stuff. Anyway.
Okay, so this is 2008. So it was at the Liberty Stadium. 18,000 here for this Investec Champions Cup.
God, those are the sort of numbers you normally need a Valley's team to be playing for.
Yeah. So this is Pontypridd versus Ospreys versus Gloucester. So this was possibly one of the best looking Ospreys teams ever. So you got Duncan, Hugh Bennett, Adam Jones.
Hello.
Solid.
Yeah, not bad. Ian Goff, Alan Wynne Jones. Hello.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Aggressive.
This is just before Ian Goff goes into the Six Nations squad. Under Gatland for the first time, isn't it? Where he becomes good again.
The point where we didn't realise what we now know about Ian Jones vis-a-vis 5G. So
yeah. Then we got Ryan.
A blissful ignorance, you could say.
Yeah. Ryan Jones, Marty Holofilo Tiatia.
Sorry, that is the perfect, that is the ultimate, peak Ospreys pack. That is the best one, hands down.
Yeah. And then when you see the bench, you're like, oh my God, even better. Even better. So then we've got in the backs then Justin Marshall, James Hook.
Not bad. Not bad. A lot of dummies going on there.
A lot of dummies. Yeah.
A lot of spiky hair and a lot of dummies.
James Hook.
A lot of spiky hair, yeah. A lot of VO5 wet look gel there.
And we haven't even got to Gav yet.
Yeah. Gav and Sonny Parker in the centre.
Oh, hello.
The absolute dream team.
That should have been the Wales centre partnership from about 2002 onwards.
Yeah. Proper chalk and cheese there as well. And a very dry, boring man, Anthony Parker. No, he
is.
The two of them could not be more diametrically opposed, and yet that is what makes for a great centre combo for me.
Damn right.
It's like every good buddy cop film.
Yeah, exactly. I would watch that buddy cop movie.
So every cold open is Sonny Parker going to a pub and just pulling Gav out and inexplicably chatting up women.
Now his own pub.
It's in the Fox and Hounds and St. Bridesmaid.
Yeah.
This would have been shortly before, actually, speaking of Sonny Parker, because he was
older.
He was Wales's in 2008. He was the 13 for Wales's Grand Slam that year.
Yeah,
Shanklin.
He was.
Yeah, took over by the end of the championship.
Yeah,
but it was they went into it with Sonny Parker as the starting 13.
Didn't go on a Lions tour though, did he? Shanklin up. And then back three of Shane Williams, Meep Beep, Nicky Walker, not so Meep Beep, and
Trundle.
Yeah,
that's
Waddle.
It's not
Walker
bad, is it?
Walker by nature.
Scored a hell of a lot of fucking tries, did Nicky Walker?
He did. Clearly, when everyone else was on
without ever really looking good at all.
Absolute peak Lee Byrne as well.
Yes, the best Lee Byrne this year.
Probably 2008 and 9, the best rugby of his career.
I would go so far as to say that that's the peak Ospreys pack, and that's almost I would put Tommy Bowen for Nicky Walker, but that's almost peak Ospreys.
I'd put Dan Bigger in as well.
That's true. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, Hooky in 2008 though. Woof.
Yeah, true. On the bench, you had Richard Hibbard, who was probably about 33 at this point, but looked 12.
He played 6 games of rugby league that morning.
Probably 23 stone at this point, and then,
didn't he? Was it this year? Was it this year that Wales won on that tour to South Africa and he just got into fights all the time?
Yeah, it would have been this year, 2008. Yeah,
I can't remember that. I have to find the clip where he just starts fighting just for no reason. Paul James, Ian Evans, Jonathan Thomas.
Oh yes,
yes,
mate.
please.
This is the best team anyone's ever fielded ever.
Well, there's still time. Don't worry. Mike Phillips, Mark Taylor, Johnny Vorton.
Okay. The drop off's really sudden.
The wheels really came off that bench.
The
Fuck
jump
me, I
scare.
forgot. God, I forgot that Mark Taylor was ever.
Sorry, trigger
thing.
warning, Johnny Vorton.
How old was Mark Taylor at that point?
God, he must have been well old. I forgot he even played for us.
Yeah.
Well, I forget Richard
35.
Kelly played for us as well.
Yeah.
Because I remember, obviously, I remember Mark Taylor playing for Swansea back in the day. But like, in this era, I mainly remember him Scarlets and Sale.
Yeah.
I always said
17
Sale.
games for the Ospreys. Was
Huh.
right before his 36th birthday, this game.
And I know he
Wow.
wasn't technically fly off cover because that was Gav, but like, Jesus.
Well, this is like when I started watching the Six Nations documentary, and in the first like 2 minutes, just Steve Tandy's big bald head is on my screen, and I genuinely jumped. That's a shit. There's a jump scare here, Steve Tandy. Don't let Brendan Leonard see this. Okay, now this is one of my favourite Gloucester teams for one man in particular. Right, so we'll start in the pack. So Kristen Califano.
Okay. There's one name I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
If this is a peak
Andy
Gloucester
Titchell.
team. Oh, good player. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember Andy Titchell.
Carlos Mateo. Don't remember. Marco Bortolami.
Yeah.
Oh, good player.
Yeah.
Good coach now as well.
Player.
Benetton.
Yeah. Alex Brown. Came off after 12 minutes.
Moment of dead air there for Alex Brown.
Yeah. Peter Buxton.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely remember Peter Buxton, but more because he had a very dull name for a professional rugby player.
I was going to say, it's sort of a throwback to the amateur era. He would have been a solicitor.
Yeah.
No, he worked under Rob Andrews somehow. Here he is, Akapusi Qera.
Oh,
My
yes.
favourite. I watched
stars.
him when Ospreys played. Yesterday, you were at this game as well. Ospreys played Hartbury in a pre-season game a couple of years ago, and he was still playing for Hartbury at this point, and he's just stood in front of me. I'm like, "You're about 53."
He's only like 39 or 40 now, isn't he?
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, and I love him so much. What a player!
I feel like he could still do a job.
He is now, or at least was about 2 years ago, working in Buxton in Derbyshire, like fixing railway lines is his job. Like he travels around Derbyshire fixing railway problems.
You're basically a navvy.
Yeah, it's like train related. He's ended up there because his kids now play there. It play in Buxton in Derbyshire. And yeah, like I knew. So my brother's come across like stories of him playing amateur rugby every now and again in Derbyshire in the East Midlands leagues, and I briefly worked when I worked for the University of Derby. They had a campus up in Buxton, and I once ended up talking to someone who had played with Akapusi Qera as it's him in his 40s. But yeah, a glorious player, and
So
I wouldn't wish Buxton on him.
Him and Lee Jarvis can go in my works with trains related 15. And then
Marcelo
number 8.
Bosch has also ended up in Derbyshire as very classy overseas signings who somehow ended up living in. I think he might even be Buxton as well, but he lives in Derbyshire now, Marcelo Bosch.
Is Buxton like the Leamington Spa of Derbyshire?
It is. It's the posh area. The worst gig I ever did back when I was doing stand-up was at the Buxton Fringe. It was 2 weeks after Brexit. I'd written all my materials about Brexit, and I walked into a room that, statistically speaking, would have voted leave based on the age profile. And should have readjusted then, but I didn't. I doubled down. It went very, very badly.
You got a bomb sometimes.
And then at number 8 was Gareth Delves.
Yes.
The great unsung. The answer to so many. I remember I wrote a blog in about 2000. It would have been 2009, suggesting that Gareth Delves was the future of the number 8 jersey for Wales. And I believed it right until I saw Toby Falasso.
Only 41.
Wow. 2 games for the Ospreys. How
I
can we
remember
forget?
I was so excited because
Same
Gareth
here.
Dale was one of those players that, like, when he was playing for Melbourne Rebels,
Mm,
I was just I was watching. It was that period where I was watching Super Rugby every week,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
just like, get him back to Wales, get him back to Wales, get him in the fucking Wales team. And then he did come back to Wales, and he was injured all the fucking time. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was it
He,
one start, one game off the bench for the
there
Ospreys?
were 11 caps for Wales.
Oh, I'm surprised it's that many because it felt like everyone talked about how he should be in the team, but he never actually was in the team.
Of
Yeah, I think
course,
he
once saved
kind
a
of,
woman from being mugged in Melbourne as well
Of
by
course.
beating
yes.
someone up.
Because he got a lot of his caps early doors, didn't he? Like he was
2006, 2007.
yeah, and then he went to Gloucester, and then the Rebels, and then he was in Japan for a while as well, wasn't he? So
Hmm.
he only was the real vinegar strokes of his career when he came back, and yeah, he's not
He
touched
was at
that.
the
Is he?
NEC Green Rockets, who are now coached
Ah.
by Wayne Pivac.
Ooh, hoo, hoo.
So, moving into the back line then for this game, you had Meet Gareth Cooper,
Oh,
a
2003
player at one
hero.
point. Yeah, this is a long far cry from
Do you remember
2003.
Gareth Cooper never retired because he announced he was taking time out of the game and was planning to come back, and he just never did.
Scarlets are in the hunt for a 9 next year.
I was going to say that
Maybe they can-
technically makes him eligible for the Wales
Maybe-
Six Nations.
Maybe he's the guy they bring in alongside Dwayne Peel, and they just go back and forth every week on which one starts at 9, which one is coach instead.
So
Just alternate.
not to pick on Cardiff, right? But if you've noticed with the Kieran Hardy thing, he was going to sign for Cardiff first, and then they said they were going to do a worldwide search for basically a non-Wales qualified 9.
Yes.
And with big Alan Clark vibes, they've gone and got Gonzalo Bertrand. And it stinks of he's going to sign a 3-year deal straight after this.
I said this on Monday. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Because there was talk around the club during the Six Nations that they were heavily in for Faf.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I think the new, dodgy money owners could not commit £1 million season to, even in their desperation to have a statement signing that kind of says that they're being business now. £1 million a year is a hell of a lot of money to play one guy who's going to be off with the Springboks for a significant portion of the season.
Yeah.
But it is Osprey's worldwide search for a world-class coach, bringing in Alan Clark vibes, isn't it?
They should have got Mike Ruddick like we did. And then you'll come across the greatest coach the game has ever seen. So, imagine the 9 that fucking Mike Ruddick would recommend to them.
That's true.
Remember when he recommended fucking Tag Burn to Wayne Pivac?
Yeah. And Will Hickey to the Ospreys.
I was going to say the Will Hickey thing was less.
Yeah.
It's not panned out quite as well.
Reese Ruddock to the Dragons. I don't know. At 10 was Ryan Lamb.
Oh, good
England's
player.
future. Good player.
I was always a big fan of Ryan Lamb.
There's a couple of future ones here. You're like, oh, he was the future. Because in the back 3, then you're Leon Lloyd.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't remember Leon
Vague
Lloyd.
memory
You
of
don't
Leon
remember
Lloyd.
Leon Lloyd? Oh, Leon Lloyd. He was touted as a very tidy player. Played 266 games for Leicester.
Wow.
And then went to Glasgow for 6. And
Yes.
he was very, very good.
Oh yeah, I do. Now I've seen him. Yeah, I do vaguely.
Played 5 games for England, but it was very promising. That's what I remember. And also in the back 3, Jameson and Daniel.
There we are. There's
The
the name I was
ultimate.
waiting for.
The ultimate.
I believe the kids say peak. That is
Peak.
a peak Gloucester moment.
Oh, big time.
One of the greats. One of the great potential players you can come across in the game. A good player.
This presumably must also be Mike Tyndall and Bolshaw Gloucester era as well, right?
Well, yeah. So you had Bolshaw at 15.
Peak.
Oh,
Free beer at
Was he
Team
at-
Bolshaw.
Was it? Yeah. Was he? When was he at his best? Do you reckon? Was it just after World
Well,
Cup?
no, his bloody best was that one game against the Ospreys in the quarterfinal for Biarritz, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
fucking best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bastards.
Prick.
And then in the centres, you had Anthony Allen and Mike Tyndall.
Oh, Anthony Allen in his
Oh my
pre-Leicester
God.
days.
There's somebody who's I've forgotten existed.
He's
Wow.
But the thing is, I forget, I deliberately delete the fact he was ever not at Leicester Tigers, including now. Like, in my head, he still starts as their 13 every week and is boring but excellent. I really like Anthony Allen. I liked him. I think he's Leicester's I think he's academy coach or maybe defense coach now. He's involved in coaching at Tigers these days.
Wasn't he like this? He went to Leicester after this, right?
Yeah, he went
Yeah.
in 2009.
Hmm.
7 games to Saxons.
Wow.
Uh,
He was in the Gloucester team that lost in the Premiership final to Leicester and then signed for Leicester. Orcs.
and then on the bench, you got Olivier Azam,
Good player. Good player. Yeah.
Good fucking player.
Patrice Colazzo,
Oh, yes. Another good player. Has become a coach of some renown for starting sideline shenanigans.
Dragons coach Luke Narroway,
Oh, of
I was gonna say
course.
another guy who was momentarily England's future.
who came on at 65 minutes and got yellow card at 68 minutes.
Oof.
I got a lot of respect for that.
Rory Lawson,
Good player. Yeah.
Chris Patterson.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Never a 10, but I always got a lot of time for Chris Patterson.
And a man who didn't have a good time in school, Willie Walker. I would not want to be in school with Willie Walker.
Oh dear.
Do you reckon he looked across at Mickey Walker at one point when there could be only one?
A Walker v Walker battle. Eli watching on, inspired.
Yeah. Eli waiting
Eli.
in the
R.I.P.
chair.
I mean, I know he's not dead, but
Oh, so that was a nice trip down memory lane.
What was the
Ospreys
score?
30.
What was the
32-15 to the Ospreys.
nice?
battered him. Absolutely
Battered
battered
them.
him.
Didn't want it. They did not want it. It was really awkward on Twitter this week. I had to explain to a Sale fan that I'm not actually taking the piss out of their team. It's a joke from the pod. But it does turn out they didn't want it.
No,
They
they
didn't
actually
want
didn't want it.
The worst, do you know what the worst thing about we found out this week is Sale's, if you watch Sale's press conferences, they're shot on like a fucking IMAX camera.
And there's like a neon sign behind him. And like it's so fancy. It's like watching a movie premiere, as you say. Like I'm expecting Zendaya to walk into shot any moment.
But we did find out, or we did remember, Yeston rightly reminded us who runs Sale's social media.
The is it the son of Steve Diamond?
Yeah.
He certainly
Yeah.
used to be Dimes'
It
son
is.
because
He's
I
still
once
there.
humiliated him because he basically put the wrong directions from Manchester to Bristol in a funny tweet.
And he falsely accused
Really
Matt
narky
Prothero.
about it.
He falsely accused Matt Prothero of diving as well a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah,
Even though he got whacked off the ball completely.
In answer to your question about point scorers in this game, it was peak James Hook.
Oh
He
yeah.
scored 22 points.
goddamn right it was.
Gloucester apparently were awful, with their only spark being Rory Lawson.
I can believe it.
Uh,
This had been the Alistair Strokosh era of Gloucester.
Oh yeah,
as
Alistair Strokosh was sorry.
Oh,
he was
good
one of the
player
players.
again.
Yeah, Strokosh was in there. Yeah,
I was
I
gonna say, I'm
completely-
sure I remember him playing for Gloucester at this era.
Alistair Strokosh.
Extremely functional, big, bold man.
On the topic of hashtag good player, I can give an update on Neath RFC's.
Oh, please tell me they've done
campaign.
another one.
Oh,
There's
Jesus.
another one.
Oh, my
Xavier Rush.
Oh.
God. Can they not?
Is it in a kebab shop?
Unfortunately not.
No, it's
It's-
in front of. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. It's in front of some weird, like a triptych of weird, sexy photographs of a woman that I kind of hope is his wife.
Is it
Actually,
Boudoir?
it's not his wife.
Oh
He's
my
getting
god, it
divorced.
is.
He got divorced.
God, the size of his chin. Like, he's got a massive jaw now.
I feel like his hair replacement has accentuated his jaw even more than it already was. But he has got one of those terrible pretend fireplaces with that. I really hope that's his girlfriend and not his ex-wife. Because that's weird if it is.
Also, why have they tagged Wales Online in it?
He's also talked for 2 minutes. The others are only like 40 seconds long. He's done 2 straight minutes on why Neath exists.
He's got a tight 2 minutes on the continued existence of
They
Neath.
paid double on Cameo.
Huge thanks to New Zealand rugby legend. I'm not sure that's what he's most famous for, lads. I'm pretty huge thanks to Cardiff legend Xavier Rush.
8 cap All Black.
To be fair, if I was involved at Cardiff, I'd be like, Rushy, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
You're literally campaigning against us.
Didn't
But he
he?
doesn't give a fuck about the rags, does
Hasn't
he?
he got
Let's
like
be
a
honest.
hair transplant company now?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got a hair transplant clinic in
Yeah.
Cardiff. Yeah.
It clearly
That's
doesn't
why
fucking work.
That's why a bunch of professional rugby players sort of had quite bad turkey level hair replacements about 5 years ago.
So,
Because they were
right.
getting them on a deal.
Before we look at the game quickly, should we predict who Neath are going to get next? So, considering this Cardiff, they're going to get Paul Tito.
They wish.
Lloyd Williams.
Yeah, Lloyd Williams in Ealing kit.
And
Steve
Lewis
Shingler.
Jones.
the Ospreys players.
JPR from Beyond the Grave.
So
Derek the Weather.
I firmly believe Mike Bubbins.
shoo-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bubs is a good shout.
Pau Felice,
Yeah.
definitely. Who's in
They'd
mid
probably,
2000s?
they'd probably find a way and squeeze Nicky Robinson in there somehow.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be something.
Via the Scrum 5 podcast. So he only does it on the Scrum 5 podcast. Gareth Rousseau-in, he'll be a shoe-in.
Andrew Bishop, I reckon.
Windsor Davis from Beyond the Grave once again.
They'll have a Michael Jackson seance-esque video.
They'll just walk around Madame Two Swords going,
Yeah.
do you support Neath? And then have Lady Gaga going,
Tom Lennon Williams, I say hello.
With James Fender's mum, she'll probably do it.
They'll get all of the progressively small offenders, all of his younger brothers,
all
which
of the Fenders.
I presume are like Russian dolls, and they just spill out of him every so often.
Never mind the Leinster cloning factory. We've got the South Goa second growth factory. Who else?
Fender machine.
Ignacio Lopez, the Spanish Welsh comedian.
Harri Deaves.
Harry T just loves playing on, but instead he just talks about how he loves playing on grass.
Yeah, he particularly talks about how the Knowles grass, really what Knowles grass means to him.
He loves playing down Neath.
Yeah. I can't support Cardiff for the EDC. They're absolute Tories. So Neath, come on, guys, sort it out. Put more focus into your actual application.
It's not edifying, is it?
Oh,
Anthony Hopkins, actually, that's going to be the next
Hopkins, one. Yeah,
he wouldn't turn up to collect his Oscar, but he will turn up for Neath RFC.
I was just scrolling down. The reason I said that, I was scrolling down and I saw the Saron Waldron one, and for a second I thought it was Anthony Hopkins. Oh Christ, they've got Lynn Jones now wearing.
Yeah.
I must say, fair play to Lynn. He is wearing an absolutely beautiful hooped, what looks vintage Adidas French blue and white French jersey.
Hello,
I just
Lynn, I don't know where you've got that, but that is
really
fucking gorgeous.
hello.
I'm not sure about the weird sort of impressionist painting behind him that looks like a sort of head of red cabbage, but everything else. That shirt
Boyce
is mint.
He'll do it next as well.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Who else? I've typed in famous people from Neath, and there's a fucking not a very good one. Ruben Colwill, footballer.
The fact that we didn't even get the audio of the Zinzanbrook one leads me to
I know.
think that
It makes me think it's not real.
well,
He didn't know he did
why
it.
Didn't they just edit it? Why didn't they edit out the bits that make them look bad? If you're going to,
Hello, I am Zinzanbrook, definitely from Windsor RFC and of rugby. It's a man in a Zinzanbrook
it's a
mask.
different Zinzanbrook.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just a bloke who lives in Windsor. Right, let's quickly talk about the Gloucester game. So, Josh, are you going to the Gloucester
no,
game?
I've cashed my chips in for a Saturday night out away
It's
from.
S4C for you then.
It is S4C for me. Maybe Premiers. Maybe I'll treat myself. Have a bit of Premier Sports if that works.
It's not on Premier Sports.
Is it not? What?
No,
Why?
it's only on S4C.
It's on TNT Sport as well because they've done that typical thing where they only care from
Oh,
the
is
quarters
it?
onwards.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
What
Right.
third-rate players are we going to get then? Because we're not getting any of the good ones.
I don't
We'll
know,
get
see,
ahead.
because I think Gloucester have got nothing to play for this season, Premiership wise. Because
Well, they got on Viaplay the other day. They got Banahan, who was looking hefty.
Who's
Yeah.
backs coach for Scotland women, so who are in camp at the minute.
Yeah, they got Banahan. They got Anscombe. And they got Hastings, who's injured. And
They'll get
Ross
Anscombe
Harris.
back, who will have a stake in both camps.
Yeah.
Though, the way he threw us under the bus the other week
Oh, God,
on Premier Sports.
Oh, he hates us.
his blood wasn't black. He fucking lied.
That transfusion was a lie.
Yeah.
It could be Cuthbert. He loves a good media appearance.
Yeah. Also, do you think that maybe the Gloucester were like hinting at something when they posted footage of Anscombe putting in Cuthbert on their socials?
Oh, did they?
If they want a winger who's not going to play,
and it was like they were like, get ready to see more of this next season, and it was Anscombe putting in Cuthbert against South Africa in 2019.
Oh,
I'll talk to Andrew Ford.
I do wonder if maybe that's a sort of stealth, because I noticed that the Cuthbert reposted it. That's the only reason that I've seen it.
I wouldn't.
And they're very close friends.
Anscombe and Cuthbert. I still think Cuthbert will leave. If he goes to Gloucester, it's a very one step forward, two steps back for Gloucester, because they've got young Josh Hathaway.
He could be their Alid Brew.
No,
Gloucester are just flush with cash at the moment because they haven't got to spend it all on Louis Samit now. So
yeah.
They'll bring
they were
12
planning on,
back.
I suppose. But I can see them liking a player like Cuthbert because he's big.
But they're losing Johnny May.
Yeah.
So they do need a senior
They
winger.
are two. Yeah, they're 2 wings down for next season, and they're going to need someone.
And you can probably sign Anscombe, Cuthbert, and 3 others for the cost they're losing in losing Zamet, May, and Hastings.
Hastings, of course. See, all they've posted is negativity this week. They don't want it. They simply don't want it.
But hugely, hugely exciting.
Yeah.
They didn't look great against Cast.
No.
They went through the motions against Cast, if I'm honest. They were always going to win it, and the fact that it was so close shows creaks in the armour.
Considering how they completely
even less
put them to
bothered
bed.
than they were.
Yeah.
But they completely put them to bed in last game of the pool stage, which was 35-5 in January, then 30-25 in April. But then
I think
they are the second worst team. They're the second worst team in the Premiership at the end of the day. But the flip side of that is that they've got absolutely fuck all to play for.
Yeah, they're
this tournament.
This is true.
Them and the Sharks.
Danger of them putting out a second team next week, I don't think.
Them and the Sharks are the 2 teams that will be most chaotically focused on the Challenge Cup. There's 2 teams that are at the bottom of the league, can't do anything else. There's an outside chance Gloucester can qualify for Europe next season, assuming it's still 8 places in the Premiership. But really, that is almost definitely gone. They're relying on results elsewhere, and
Yeah,
the
they're
top four is
still like
definitely
13
gone.
or 14 points behind Sale,
Yeah,
who, equally didn't have a huge amount of play for
Yeah.
last week, but still put out a second team. So,
Well, the advantage Sale had is they're on the same points as second place.
Mm.
It is
I guess there's 5 points between Saracens and Sale.
so at least they have something to play for.
Yeah, I suppose that's
With
true.
Gloucester, they don't have
Gloucester-
many players who are going to be rested by EPS minutes. I don't think they have any actually.
yeah.
No,
I think you likely look at probably the same team as last week.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
That'll be Rapava Ruskin, whatever hooker they've got on loan because they injure all theirs. Gatotsev. You might see Jamal Ford Robinson come in. 2 made-up second rows and a good back row. Was that Mercer?
Yeah, I mean, 2 good back rowers and Zach Mercer.
Doesn't
who
want it.
I was having this conversation in the office with Will earlier today, but just like we could easily put together a 15 of players who look like they're good at rugby but aren't. In Zach Mercer, Jordan Lama, Henry Arundel, these players who have like good highlights moments but like just go missing all the time. And I realize I'm cursing us now.
Johnny Nickel. Sorry, so it's stuck in my throat there.
I
Johnny
do not
McNichol
rate
was
Zach
stuck in
Mercer, and I never have. I think he's a show pony who's a brilliant carrier and offers nothing else. Occasionally, he comes with a big jack turnover, and people use that to point to him being an all-round player. But his work rate is incredibly low for a player of his talent and ability, and the engine he should have, and the ability he has to get out of the ground and get going again. He doesn't involve himself in the game anything like enough. And they require, the rest of that pack, the Ludlows and the Ackermans of the world have to work so much harder to make up for that. And you contrast that to this Ospreys back row, who all work incredibly hard, especially if you've got Deaves in at 6 alongside Tipperick. That is an area in which you feel we could have a bit of an edge, is that sheer work rate of that pack.
Ruin Ackerman is my favourite player in that Gloucester pack.
Mm.
I love him so much.
He's a monster player. And one of those players that, like, equally though, if you look at that back line, it's like, there's a lot of things what can cause problems there.
Yeah.
And Johnny May. Carreras is horrible. Ollie Thorley. It might be the stupidest player in the world, but if he gets a straight line run, he's very hard to stop.
Max
Llewellyn's playing real fucking good at the moment.
Yeah.
Now that he's actually been given some time to play.
Yeah, although I don't think he's 13.
What's that?
And yeah, the 16th Atkinson in Seb as well as like hitting some form.
Yeah,
it's these like constantly regenerating Atkinsons. We've got the Fenders. Leinster have got their endless, sexless capacity to generate players, and Gloucester have got the Atkinsons. They will have forever more and more Atkinsons coming in, a whole diet's worth of Atkinsons.
Yes, then where do you see the threats in Gloucester?
I was going to go on a really positive limb, saying the last time we played an away game against a side that contained Zach Mercer.
Yeah.
We all know what happens there with a certain
good.
second row.
Adam Beard miss pass, yeah.
Yeah. So, like you've lot have mentioned earlier, someone like Carreras can really cause something out of nothing. Mercer's carrying is still very good. And
But for everything else, yeah.
And I'm sure that the back row is gonna obviously help. Gloucester's chances. And then it's you kind of go into it with a bit of confidence. I think if it was a home game, you'd be really
I'd fancy us at home,
thinking this is a real chance of a really good victory. But then you add it as away from home. I don't know why Gloucester have turned into Ulster in the Gallagher Premiership are playing everything on a Friday night for some reason. And
they do love a Friday night game, don't they?
Well, that's the other thing is that we've only got a 6-day turnaround, which is especially given the sort of emotional release of that finally winning last week, there is that sort of worry that you've played your final a week,
Fortunately, the squad seems to be healthy enough.
Yeah.
Mm. But we have a small squad, so there isn't much rotation you
Yeah,
can do.
that's
Yeah.
true.
So you worry about there
It
being
needs to
some
be
wear and
healthy because
tear.
there's not many lads that can play.
We've been given
Yeah.
another nameless French ref.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who we worked out last refed us when we lost 45-10 at Sale,
Yeah.
where Harri Deaves scored his first ever try.
Be his third Ospreys game after that Sale game and the loss in Worcester that I went to
Oh, yes, of
a few
course.
years back.
Was that the
Yes.
Corey Allen intercept at the start, the midway through the second
Oh,
half?
maybe. Yeah, that sounds
Corey
right.
Allen.
Yeah.
Good
Or was
player.
it the one after where George North scored that screamer?
No, yeah, I think it was the Corey Allen one. Yeah. I was sat behind Worcester subs bench for that game.
Yeah, I think I was there for that, and the Worcester supporters all shouted Tio because it was his first game back from Lions tour.
Yeah.
And then he gives an intercept away in like his first
Yes. Yes.
Tio.
Oh, it's all coming back to me now. I remember my main takeaway being that Six Ways has a one-way car park.
And that's what was worth fighting about in court so hard.
I'm sure Felicity Kovacic will tweet about the one-way car park. I really like Felicity. I hope she keeps finding a good fight.
Absolutely.
In terms of our selection, I assume we're going to go the same.
Yeah, I think
I can't see much.
the one area of contention, especially with the news of Rhys Davis being out and otherwise fairly safe picks, is Lewis Lloyd or Sam Parry, a hooker. And I think I'd stick with, as I think Yessin was saying the same, stick with Lewis Lloyd at hooker. I think he did a brilliant job.
Yeah.
Josh was saying earlier, he felt like a player that really found his way into the game. You want to both reward that and use that energy and then have a safer pair of hands to come on.
Yeah,
it's
Sam
nice
Parry
to know that if
like
he's blowing at 60 minutes, then you can bring a player of the sort of capability of Sam Parry on off the bench. And also, if he's not 100% fit, you can say to him, just fucking empty the tank for 20 minutes, mate. Give us what you got.
Have Nicky Smith come on, help short the scrum a bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with Rhys Henry.
The one other position where I think there's a chance they may change is Max Nagy at fullback. And I think I'd continue with Walsh, but
I would continue with Walsh.
I would understand the logic if they go for Max Nagy to be a different counter-attacking threat. But
someone
I think
said
you kind of
Nagy
want
on the wing.
Yeah, depends on Keelan's fitness.
I do think that there is obviously I like Luke Morgan and Keelan individually as players, but I do think that we, part of the reason why we signed Cuthbert, was that we have a lot of small, shifty wingers, and sometimes you want somebody who's a bit of a fucking unit who can just run hard at people.
Yeah.
And Nagy is a big lad who can run at people.
Mm.
In addition to the other things that he does.
I don't expect to see him, but we have Josh Adams at home. Toby Fricker is fit again and available.
We do have Tesco on brand.
Yeah.
Josh Adams, Toby Fricker. But yeah, I expect to see him and change squad, if I'm honest.
I think, again, it's come up quite a lot in the talk around this game. It's something that Lance Bradley brought up on the Scrum 5 pod. And we heard Toby Booth bring up immediately post-game when talking about the prospect is Gloucester having an artificial pitch now. So expecting a far quicker game. Harri Deaves disappointed because he won't be playing on grass. But
I just love playing on grass.
There is a change taking place there. And I think that's a game that will suit having Jack Walsh in the team. And so I think maybe that same idea of having Dan Edwards on the bench, plenty of different kind of 10 if we need him, but obviously didn't come on at the weekend. And having Owen Williams start and having Jack Walsh there as a second playmaker and having the option to, if we want to, bring Max Nagy on and move Walsh into 10 if it feels like that kind of game that needs to open up a bit. Same thing happened against the Lions in South Africa, where they moved Walsh into 10 and, really opened the game up in that last 20 minutes. But
give me Morgan Morse on this quick track. Hello. Give him some speed. Give him something. He's just going to dart around.
Saw what he could do at the Brewery Field.
Yeah.
Imagine
what he could do on a hard, flat surface.
Oh, we saw his speed out in Johannesburg, didn't we? When he scored that intercept. So, give me a score prediction.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Here you go.
Bearing in mind, right, I'm going to say this now. We took 2,500 fans to Saracens. right, according to the Ospreys Sports Club last year, give or take. We could take a hell of a lot more to Gloucester.
Well, they've sold out the bus initially, and I know there's a few
Two
of us.
buses.
You know, I know James. We're both going down the train. Yes, then you train.
Yeah,
Josh.
I'm going
I'm in a car,
on
I
my
believe.
train from
Okay.
London.
I think we're driving up.
I have not. I would just like to point out, yes, I am a grifter. I have not bought my tickets. Thank you, Jamal Ford Robinson, for giving me my tickets.
I am. So the other thing worth mentioning is this Brewery Fest 2.
Yeah.
They're arranging, which is one bar that Lance Bradley's now said himself he's going to be at. I think we're planning to arrive there beforehand, and you know, time depending on everything. Maybe have a look at what's going on there. So please, if you're about, you know, pop by. It'd be good to build that atmosphere again. It was really lovely on Saturday before that game and before, you know, Joshua arrived. I had to walk around and just chatting to so many people and, you know, having a talk about the game was, really nice. And quite a few listeners as well at the pod have started to, you know, crop up at these games, which is fantastic.
Yes, please do come say hi. It'd be great.
I'm just putting off saying score predictions. Sorry,
right.
You know what I'm doing.
Do it.
I don't want to.
Right, you could bet against this. It's fine. I'll go first. I'm gonna say 24-20 to the Ospreys. 2024.
I'm gonna say 32-17 Gloucester.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this game.
Yes, then.
Yeah, it would be a very typical Ospreys performance. So, like, when everyone's starting to talk about it, then all of a sudden you lose by like a couple of scores. But I think every time this season, every time there's been a really good performance, I've predicted an opposition win. So, and I'm rather confident this weekend as well. So last week I wrote Ospreys by 8, and they were Ospreys by 8? Ospreys by 6, and they won by 8.
okay.
So not far off last week, in fairness. Oof. I don't know. If it's like one of those, like I just said earlier, you know, if it's a home game, it's a lot more easy to predict. Gloucester 17, Ospreys 21. One of them, Ospreys by 4.
I like it.
Every time I read the predictions of the weekend, and the majority of neutrals, of non-Welsh people, have written the Ospreys off and just gone a Gloucester win. And that has made me more and more confident. And if Gloucester can do the same and write us off, same as, you know, so many teams have over the course of the season, then I'll grow in confidence. I feel this is a bullshit thing, right? But I feel like there's one of two games that's going to take place. And it's either going to be exactly the game that, you know, James yesterday described this, an Ospreys win by 4 points, or it's going to be a Gloucester win by 2 converted tries at least, as Josh was saying. I think it's like, this is either going to be a bridge too far and a comfortable loss, or if it's tight, I think we sneak it.
Yeah,
so
I think that's wrong, to be honest. I'd say that's pretty bang on.
That is probably bang on. So,
I can't see it being a comfortable 4-try battering for the Ospreys.
No, Ospreys don't do comfortable. Ospreys don't do comfortable.
We saw that on Saturday.
That Lions game is the closest we've ever come. And even then, they were like quickly catching up. Against Sale at the weekend was the closest we ever come. Sometimes we're 2 tries ahead and we go, do you want to let my 2 tries to make it interesting?
If ever a game screamed Luke Morgan yellow card, by the way, it's this game. If ever a game,
I deny that happens.
He is gonna kill the fuck out of it. He's gonna intentionally knock on a ball like fuck. And it's
he's going to do it in the warm up. He's just going to run into the line, into their line in the warm up and knock it on. Oh, right. I think that's it. Josh, thank you so much for blessing us with your time this week. You can find Josh. Are you back on X now?
Yeah, sort of. I'm at Josh Gardner.
You can find Josh pissing off South African fans and Scarlet fans alike. At Josh Gardner on Twitter, and of course you can find him on the immense Blood and Mud Rugby Pod. You can find us on the regular socials. You can find me at Ospreys Irie Pod, at Robbie, at Squids Rugby, Squids _Rugby.
There's a new video on YouTube if you fancy it. on
Yeah, if you
Jameson
fancy-
Gibson Park. Please go and watch it. Pay the. It's good. Thank you.
on JPEG,
Yeah.
please. He needs to pay rent this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look. We've had algorithm problems. Look, I'd appreciate it.
Can't all be having this Andrew Ford money. Right. I think I'm actually playing for Cardiff Saracens again this weekend, so I will be with Andrew Ford. Right, that is us. We'll be back next week to hopefully discuss a win and preview. Is it the Tour to South Africa first?
Yeah, it's Stormers week after.
Okay. Cool.
Stormers and Bulls, then the potential semi-final if we get there, then Leinster.
Cool. So we'll discuss Dewi Lake and Jack Morgan's return next week as the only good things in my life. Right. Have a good one, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Ospreys Harri podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Tired of ads interfering with your favorite sports podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening is available on Amazon Music for all the music plus top podcasts included with your Prime membership. Stay ahead of the game by downloading the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/sports ad free. That's amazon.com/sports ad free to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.